Hello, 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 everybody. How are we all? Everyone well? Hello, everybody in the chat. Welcome along. Hello, Michael. Hello, Aaron. Hello, C Rugby Z. Hello, Oliver Hearn. Hello, Gregor. How are we all? Everyone doing well? So today we have a special guest again. So what I need to do is I need to add him in. So let me just give him a call. Have we got any guesses coming in? If you watched the stream yesterday, I maybe gave it away. Let me know in the chat. I'm just about to add the star in, so bear me 1 second. Let me just go to here. How is everybody? We've had thank you to everybody who's voted in the Club Rugby World Cup. It's been brilliant. The response is absolutely massive. Right, let me just add this gentleman in. So I'm just going to quickly Skype call him. Hello. Hello, just bear me 1 sec. Let me just add you into this, and then I should be able to add you into there. Bear me a second. Where are we? I think that's the one there. Okay, right. If I switch to here, we should have our very special guest. Oh, no. Wait. There we go. We're in. Hello, Brad Shields. How are you?
I'm very good, mate. Yourself?
I'm very well, thank you. Very well. Can everybody hear Brad okay? If we can just let me know in the chat as we go along. So if you can't hear him, let me know and I can change some settings. So it's all a bit crazy at the moment, isn't it, Brad? It's all a bit strange. It's a strange old world to be in, especially in the world of rugby. So I figured,
Yeah, mate.
I figured we'd have a chat today about your career because I think I've got to be honest. Looking at it today, I hadn't realised how much you've done. Like, you've achieved so much. Like, and I think people might not necessarily know the things, so I think it would be really good for people to watch along. And actually, I think it might jog a few memories for you as well, hopefully.
Yeah, mate. It's been a few years on the line, so I can't say I'll give you too much information at what I was doing when I was 19 or 20. So see how we go.
Right, okay, here we go. So I'm gonna switch over now to this camera. Just bear me a second. Let me go to there. I'm gonna send you across some photos, Brad. Okay. So I've got some
Yeah.
photos for you, and I'll pop them in. There should be a little conversation box down the bottom. So I'll pop them into there. 1 second, and I will send them over to you. That's the first one. Right. So this photo is an old school photo. So. So, talk about your journey with rugby then, and kind of how did you get into playing rugby? This was from
Wow.
when you won the Tater College Cup for Sportsman of the Year, I believe it was. I've got here. So, if you want to tell me a bit
Looks
about
like
rugby.
it. Yeah, so rugby's been a part of my life for crazy. It's bring back some memories with that photo. Since I was about 4 years old. So it's been a fair while. And I think I played right through age grade. I was living all over the show because my old man was in the army. So we only really settled in Wellington when I was about 10 or 11. We started playing. I played for a club called Stokes Valley, and then sort of went to college. And Taita College was where I went, but we weren't really rugby school.
Okay.
We were playing like, I don't know if you got your Division 1. We were probably Division 3 or Division 4. So we weren't really an experienced team or anything. We just kind of try to punch above our weight a little bit. But from then we've had four guys, two, three, four, I think maybe five guys who have played Super Rugby.
Oh, wow.
So that's quite a big achievement from quite a small rugby sort of school.
Yeah, for a non-rugby school particularly. So when did the kind of dream, or when did the realization that you could maybe be a professional player? When did that kind of happen for you?
I don't know. I was 17, so it was my last year at school, and I sort of had to decide. So I was quite heavily involved with softball as well. Softball's quite a big sport in New Zealand.
Yeah.
So I sort of had to decide whether I wanted to go down the softball route or the rugby route, and I love both sports equally, but I think for me rugby just had I had a little bit more passion for it.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just something that I always used to watch when I was a kid. Always used to play, and the older you get, you realise like, oh, I could make something out of myself in this sort of area. So I'm pretty lucky in that respect to get where I am today. But also I think going to Taita, small rugby school, sort of taught me about fighting for a position and like rep teams and all that sort of stuff, because you've got to compete with all those schools that are at the top level.
Yeah.
So I thought if I can get through that at school, then it might give me a decent chance to give it a crack after school.
Okay, so we've got the next. I've got two photos here for you. The next two. Let me just change over to here. We've got switch back to that. The next photo.
You're gonna have to send me these photos
I,
too,
I
by the
will
way.
do.
So I
Yeah,
can
no
see.
worries. I will do. So this one is you talking about your move after school. This is you playing for. You'd have to. This is Petone, is it? Is that how you say it?
Oh, for Tony.
Yeah. So it's a photo of you there, absolutely tearing it up in the field. So, how was the experience of obviously leaving school and playing rugby and stuff? And was there any additional pressure suddenly then because it's not just necessarily about a bit of fun. There's actual bit of pressure on to play for the club, or were you working as well with this, or?
Yeah. So so when I finished at Stokes Valley and then I went to college, Stokes Valley didn't have like a premier top side that would compete in the club sort of competition in Wellington. So I sort of had to go to a more renowned club to sort of compete. Otherwise, they said if you're not going to play Premiership rugby, then in Wellington, Premiership rugby was our club rugby equivalent.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess I got told you have to go there. Otherwise, you might not get selected to play rugby. So I was lucky. My uncle had ties with Petone, and he sort of dragged me along down there. And I think I was in the Wellington Rugby Academy. We'd train half a day every day for my first year out of school. So there was a bit of a gap year. So by the time I was between 17 and a half sort of to about 19,
Yeah.
I was working half a day for my uncle, doing sort of, labouring jobs. He had a shipping container company, and the other half I was training. And then the weekends now I'd play for Petone.
It sounds like training alone, just doing shipping container. That sounds like a full-on training session nowadays. Right. So the other photo I've got from this is one of you in. This was a bit more recent, but it's one of you in a Wellington shirt. So let me just pop this up. Number 3 there. So this one is a classic, like a mugshot photo from a. So yeah, what? How does it? Oh, sorry. How? Like playing for Wellington, obviously it must mean quite a bit because that's the first place you really settled and stuff. So, what was it like playing for Wellington was it a province you'd call them, or what would you?
Yeah, it's a province. So it's sort of the first step in professional rugby, I guess. It's like it's not so much the franchises of Super Rugby. It's like in Hurricanes you've got Wellington, Manawatu, Hawke's Bay, and Wellington, I guess, are the main sort of contributors to the Hurricane region.
Yeah.
So to play for Wellington, I guess that's your hometown. That's where you start sort of playing in professional rugby. And I was lucky enough when I was 19, during that year I was saying I was working, I got called in halfway through the season in 2010. So halfway through 2010, I became on the books week by week professional rugby player. So that was sort of my first step. And I was lucky enough, the coach that was watching he was watching us academy boys train on the field. So we used to do our training in the morning, and then the big boys would come out later on in the day. And he was watching, and I just happened to be ahead in a fitness session. He always said to me, I gave you a chance because I saw you were ahead of somebody else. So I was like, man, if I relaxed a little bit, I might not be where I am today. So no, I'm grateful for that. So yeah, Wellington rugby obviously means a lot to me. I spend a lot of my time playing with them, and something I think every player sort of grows up with a province and means it's special to them.
Yeah, it's completely. So the next one is talking about then obviously you had the success and you then were called up to the All Blacks under-20s. Now, today doing some digging on this, I'm not going to lie, I saw the team and actually posted it up online. I'll send you the team, you might have seen it already on Instagram.
Yeah.
But my gosh, what a team that is. Let me send that to you. This was from an old article, obviously, so some of the players have moved on now. But some of the names on that team sheet, like one of the thing I wanted to ask you on this was, did it kind of feel special when you were playing with these guys, or was it just the lads just getting together? And what a team that was! Like,
I think it's just the lads. Like you kind of like we all, because it's age grade, you all end up growing, playing together, growing up. Like especially all the Wellington boys, and then you got the likes of Bodie, and you got sort of Luke. You got Sam. They thought you play against them when you're young.
yeah,
So I guess it just feels like you're having a good time with the boys. And at the time, I guess I mean, we knew we were a pretty special group because we won the World Cup against a massively strong England team. So, like, you could put their team up on paper as well, and they'd be, just as competitive if you saw like where guys are now to this day. So, yeah, it was just, I mean, amazing sort of time, an amazing group to be a part of.
So I've got one more photo because I want to show you this one as well. This is a beautiful photo. So this is let me send this one over to you. This is a real good photo of a certain team.
By the way, that photo of me in the Wellington jersey wasn't when I was 19 either.
No.
So that's a few years after.
So this photo now, this is a brilliant one. There's a certain individual on the right hand side who looks brilliant in this one. There's an old school photo of Lima Sofwanga. Who's the guy on the left? If you'd love to recheck me.
So this is one of my best mates. This is one of the guys I was talking about who we went to school together.
Okay.
I'm going to take a photo of this on my screen.
You're gone.
It's all right, still there. So so we went to school together, and we played club rugby together, age grade, all the rep teams together, and we always played against Lima when we were kids as one of like our, I don't know, I guess our rivalry games against, because he was from Petone as well.
Okay.
Moved on a bit later after school, but he played all his age grade at Petone and then went to another club later. But yeah, so he's one from Taita. One of my best mates, his name's Mikey Kainga. So that's quite a special photo there.
Right, the next bit is, so in 2012 you signed a Super Rugby contract with the Hurricanes. So, ahead of the 2012 season, how did it feel making the step up then to the kind of the big leagues as such? I think in New Zealand, everybody knows you got five big teams in New Zealand. That's the big step, isn't it? So I'm just going to send you this photo. I'm going to put this up first. So the first one's just a photo of you in a Hurricanes shirt. So you've probably seen this many times with press releases and stuff. So I'll send this one over anyway, and then I'll send you another one, which is, I want you to talk about kind of how important this was in your career. The next one, winning the Super Rugby. So this one, and then the second one. So how important? Obviously, what was it like first of all playing for a Super Rugby team? Was it a massive step up from what you were playing at the provincial level? And then kind of how was having that success? How did that? Because that's the first time the Hurricanes ever won it. Well, I think it's the only time they haven't won it since, have they?
Yeah.
So,
no, they haven't won it since.
So yeah, talk to me about that if you can.
Massive. Like I suppose for me, and it's the same with Wellington. Sort of, you grow up because Hurricanes is a Wellington-based team. That's where we train and play. So if you're from Wellington, as I always wanted to play for the Hurricanes. So to sort of get that call up in 2012 to do a full pre-season and, to debut in the first game coming off the bench. I think it was in Cape Town, 2012. To get my first cap was like, I don't know, you kind of think back and you think how lucky, like I look back on my career and I think how lucky I am to get given sort of one or two opportunities early. Yeah. And it sort of opened a lot of doors for me. And for me, like that's one of the biggest things I'll cherish about rugby is my debut for Wellington and my debut for the Hurricanes. So that's like such a cool occasion. And then to go on with a special group, we sort of created a group from 2012. Mark Hammett was our first coach, and he wanted to change things culturally a little bit. So it took us a few years. We're sort of mid-table. We missed out on playoffs by 1 or 2 points. And then Chris Boyd came in and coached and sort of took it to the next level. And we had such a great group for a good 3 or 4 years. Made the final in 2015, lost to Lima's Highlanders team, unfortunately. And then won it the next year. And to win it for the first time, the Hurricanes have won something like that. Like, I couldn't imagine doing it with any other team, at that time for Super Rugby. So that was quite an amazing experience. And again, one that I guess we'll never forget as players.
So then in 2017, you actually took over the captaincy so following that season, you then took over, it was the season after, wasn't it? You took over the captaincy of the Hurricanes, and then you led them to a historic draw against the British and Irish Lions. So, like, how did you find it in being in charge of was it much different from just being a normal player, or how did you feel with that? And the other one was, how do you prepare against the British and Irish Lions then? Because obviously you don't know necessarily what's going to come at you. So if you just 2 answers on that one then. So how did you feel in charge or being in charge?
Yeah. Well, I think for me it was a little bit of a bit opportunistic, like because Dane Coles was injured for most of that next season. I think it was actually I was sort of TJ was the main captain in 2017, and I was sort of
Yeah.
2018 because Colsey was injured for a bit of that season, but obviously Colsey was involved with the All Blacks at the British Irish Lions, and so was TJ. So I guess the easiest thing about leading the team like that was we had 6 or 7, quite high leaders in the team. So basically, all I did was talk to the ref, really, and all the decisions got made by all of us as a group, and it made it sort of real easy. And I guess to your next question, to lead the team against the British and Irish Lions, a massive, great, huge occasion for us. It was a sellout at Westpac Stadium. We've only ever sold it out for a semi-final and a final. So to play against them, like I think it was just the occasion in itself that got us up for that game, and because some of us will never ever play a game against an international team like that ever again. Like for me, that was my first taste of international rugby as sort of it. So I guess that was sort of a big stepping stone for a lot of us in that team, and to play against the players like you see in there, like Jack Nolan, I think that's Laidlaw, who on the ground there. To play against guys like that, some guys would never ever experience that ever again. So it's such a massive occasion, and obviously such a great tour.
Yeah, very much so, very much so. So this was a bit of a trickier one. In 2012 and 2016, you were called up to the All Blacks, but you never got your shot. Now, in the press, they talked about you. They approached you and said that you were very, very close to being called up, but it was just then you kind of made the decision to leave. We'll get onto the coming over to the UK in a second. But how do you feel about the All Blacks now? Like obviously you've played for England and stuff since, but how do you look back on the chances you had, and do you kind of have any resentment for not being given a shot, considering how well you were playing over in New Zealand?
I don't think I never have any resentment because that's professional sport for you. Like, I guess for me, it was just about opportunity, and I guess I got a taste of being in camp, for one of those, sort of few weeks there. And I guess it sort of gave me that bit of hunger to try and succeed and play international rugby. And, I'll never be resentful because I think whenever you don't make something or you fail or you don't quite reach your goals, then it teaches you a little bit more about how to be resilient and how you can bounce back and, how to take an opportunity that comes next time. So for me, it was just all learning curve. And I feel like 2015, 16, maybe even towards the end of 14, like I was playing some of the best rugby, and for me, I don't really, it's hard for me to say that, but I definitely think I was playing some of the best rugby in my career. And I think in a way that sort of set me up for playing for England. So either way you look at it, there was an opportunity there, and I'm so grateful for the opportunity that I got in New Zealand to play for the Hurricanes and try my hand. But equally, massive opportunity for me to play for England, and that was such a massive step for me and a milestone to play international rugby.
So it was quite. I remember it actually at the time when it was all kind of kicking off with the fact that you were going to move over, and there were some pretty harsh comments in the press and stuff, especially from the New Zealand side. Like, did that impact you at all, or kind of you just like, look, I've made my decision, I'm quite happy with that sort of thing?
I think everyone would be sort of lying if it didn't affect you in some sort of way. And I think for me, like I didn't really read the media too much, but for me, it was just about having the support of people that cared about me around me and people's support that loved me. The decision that I made, ultimately, if they supported me, then that made me feel good about the decision. Like my family, obviously, my wife and my daughter, the biggest support came from them and my parents. So all the other stuff is noise basically, and if you can get past that, like you've got to think about anyone in my situation. Like if it was a job, someone had a regular job, if they were going to sort of go up the ranks or get offered a better job somewhere else, then I'm pretty sure you take it no matter where it would be. So for me, it was just about opportunity, and I had a chance to. I didn't think I'd play for England as quickly as I did, but it was about an opportunity to try and chance my hand in England and try and play good rugby and hopefully look at getting selected. And I managed to play 8 caps, so I'm stoked with the decision that I made. And some people might not agree with it, and that's fine with me. Not everyone, you can't please everyone. So, but yeah, to where I am today. So I'm enjoying it so far.
Right, this was just a bit of a cheeky question because I wanted to ask, because I saw it in the press, and I wanted to ask whether this is true. Did you leave an England shirt for Broden Barrett in his house after staying there?
Yeah, it's quite. It's quite a weird time actually because we were supposed to actually be over in England before the season for the whole of the pre-season, but my wife's visa, because have an English passport, there was a bit of a delay in my wife's visa coming through, so that sort of delayed our time coming over, and we didn't really have anywhere to stay. So Hannah Bodie's wife sort of said, come and stay with us for a week or week and a half, whatever. So I was like, sweet, we'll stay there. And I just managed to sneak one of my training jerseys into the top drawer. I did the same to Dane Coles as well. So because they were obviously away on All Black duty, so I managed to get it in there without them knowing, and then get them home, and they open the drawer and there's a jersey sitting there.
Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Right, so how did the move come up?
Yeah,
How did the
great.
move come about then with Wasps? Like, was the talk to it? Had you spoken to Eddie before you would come to Wasps about, like, come over? You could potentially be in the team, or was it like, right, it's time for a change? How did that come about with the move to Wasps? If I put
Yeah, I think for me it was, I sort of looked at my situation and what I had achieved in New Zealand, and the biggest thing for me was winning the Super Rugby. If we hadn't won Super Rugby, then maybe I would have stayed with the Hurricanes for another season. But that was a tick in the box for me. And then I sort of thought I'd reached as far as I could go in New Zealand. So it was about, again, like I said, opportunity. And that was when we started looking at clubs over in England. And Wasps, I didn't really get much direction from anyone as such, apart from my agent and players that I've talked to over here. But Wasps was a team that sort of in history had played like the Hurricanes, a loose sort of brand of rugby, an attacking sort of game. So that was something that I might be used to and could fit into reasonably easily. So that was sort of the main driving, and obviously central, central to England. You're not far from London. Where we're living is a really nice area. And as it happened, I met Joe and Dan and Nathan at the time, and Elliot over in South Africa with England. So that made the transition even easier, knowing a few guys there. But that's sort of how it came about. Wanted a bit more opportunity, and Wasps sort of, made me feel at home.
And now we move on to then England. Then let's talk about England for a little bit. This is when you scored against Italy. You scored 2 tries, I believe, that day. Let's talk about that. And how did it feel playing for England? And also, how did it feel playing against the All Blacks? It must have been quite a strange day, or was it kind of like just another day? How did it feel for you?
Um, oh mate, to answer your first question, playing for England is it's massive again. Like sort of something that I guess as a rugby player, when you reach international rugby level, it's sort of like that's the cake, that's the cherry on top for you. And although you haven't made it as such, you still got to keep working for what you want. That's sort of like a milestone in your career. So for me, it was so special. And we played, I think it was that first game against South Africa in Twickenham in the autumn internationals. And as I was singing the national anthem, I sort of looked over in the stands, and I saw mum and dad and my wife
Amazing.
Lou over there. So that was like, the timing was pretty cool, and like that was sort of a moment for me that I'll probably save it forever. Like it was, I sort of made it where I wanted to be, or taking the first step as to where I wanted to be. So that was awesome, and I'm very grateful for the opportunity to play the All Blacks. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it was another game of footy, but I'd be lying to say that it wasn't a little bit different. Playing against all your mates that you'd played most of your career with, that was pretty weird in itself, but it's almost made it a bit more enjoyable. It was a big build up for the week, and knowing that I was starting was, I don't know. I guess there was a few nerves, but at the same time there was excitement just to get stuck in and play in front of 80,000 people against the All Blacks. What's the saying? If you can't play for the All Blacks, the next best thing is to play against the All Blacks. So I think that was sort of massive for me. And I don't know, playing against your mates, you can't beat us up playing that in the backyard with a few of your mates. It's quite cool.
Was everybody kind of pretty with everyone, all the players, and just like, it's weird, but it's fine. We're happy to see you kind of. Or was there any kind of negativity towards you at all with it from players?
No, I don't think. Well, not they didn't say anything to me, but no, I don't think so. I think like at the end of the day, they were supportive of my move, and I talked to a few of my close mates in the team before I left, and they were very supportive, and some of those players actually probably made the decision for me to pack up bags and head over. So I was grateful for that. But yeah, I think they were just happy to see me living a dream that I'd been trying to achieve since I was a kid. So yeah, I think they were just happy for that. And like you are when you see your mates play for the top team, is you're happy for them,
Yeah,
aren't you?
exactly. So we spoke recently at the Loose Heads event where you lost your incredible beard. So you talked there quite a lot about how loose heads was quite important to you for injury and like how you went through kind of like a dark moment when you were injured and you were going to miss out the World Cup potentially at the time. Like, how do you look back on it now? Like how you've worked through it and kind of. I kind of thought a lot of people might be feeling quite similar at the minute, being at home, being stuck, not being able to do what they want to do. So kind of, is there any advice that you would give to anybody that kind of that might be going through any or feeling any strange emotions like that?
Yeah, I think for me at the time, obviously it was the first when I sort of got injured during that summer camp for the World Cup. It was the first sort of, I wouldn't say that it was probably the first sort of major setback in my career. Knowing that I was potentially on track to, whether I would have made it or not is not the point, but I was on track to potentially be in a World Cup squad, and to get injured at that time, the timing was really bad, and that was my first real major setback. And I think I guess my advice at the time, or now that I look back on it, is to step back for a little bit. Like I just kept going, put my head down, kept going, and it was quite detrimental for my mental health because I sort of just brushed it off like it was nothing. But I think you've got to address some of those things. And for me, it took until my wife to say something to me, saying like, yeah, you've got to like sort of think back, like take a step and look at the scenario you're in and how you can sort of write down little bits and pieces that go for a checklist or whatever. For me, it was to move forward and sort of have a plan in place at what you've been through and acknowledge it and then move on. And I think for me is the biggest part or biggest advice is just to acknowledge something and then get some help or talk to somebody else in that space. And that's exactly what I did. And people tend to put things into perspective for you a little bit as well. And for me, it got put into perspective about, my career's not over. I'm still going to be playing rugby again. I've still got my family that support me and all that sort of stuff. So, I guess perspective is a massive thing. And sometimes it takes talking to somebody else to sort of fish it out a little bit. So that would probably be my biggest advice, is address it and then have a yarn to somebody. It doesn't hurt. No one's going to turn you away.
No, that's it. It's just opening the conversation,
Yeah.
isn't it? So, are you learning any new
Yeah.
skills then while you're in quarantine? Have you been practicing? Are you going to start singing? Is there going to be anything new, revolutionary from Brad Shields at the end of 2020?
Well, I've been seeing a few like of those, whatever trick shots or whatever, but I haven't done one very good yet, and it's been a week and a half. So you might not see any of that come through. I think I'll be like entertainer of kids of the year or something by the end of this as well. But no, I'm picking up a little bit of well-being course, a bit of a well-being course, and hopefully do a bit of understanding about business and stuff. You got plenty of time on your hands, so keep fit and then keep the mind distracted as well, and then entertain my child, which is sometimes a test in itself, but she's full of energy, so keeps us on our toes anyway.
Brilliant. So last question is just kind of, what does the future hold for Brad Shields then within rugby and post rugby? So obviously you've talked a little bit there, you're looking about business and stuff. Is that kind of a route you want to go for? And where do you see your career? Do you see yourself maybe staying in the UK? Do you fancy going abroad again, going back to New Zealand? What's kind of on the cards for Brad Shields?
It's sort of a little bit unknown, obviously, at the moment with what's going on. But for me, I'm here, obviously, next season with Wasps, and I'm going to try and put my best foot forward and compete and try and get back into that England squad would be amazing. If that doesn't happen, then so be it, and then sort of reassess sort of after the third year. Would love to stay in England a little bit longer and chance my hand, or sort of stay immersed in the culture over here. And I think post rugby, I'm still not really sure. I mean, me and my wife, she used to run a business back in New Zealand. as a photographer. So we've always sort of thought we'd love to own a business of our own. What that looks like, we're not sure. So maybe I can get some.
Maybe your children's entertaining. That could be your next route. Like she could take photos for you for that. She could do the photos at the event, and you can do the. There you go. We've got a business sorted here.
Got it sorted already. Yeah. No, she wouldn't be able to do that. She wouldn't be able to work with me. That's the problem. She'd have to be the boss. That's the thing.
Well, brilliant. Thanks a lot for joining me, Brad. Well, if you're
No worries.
Yeah, no, thank you very much for joining me. It was an absolute pleasure to go through your career, and hope that's brought back a few memories. I'll send some over. Well, you've got them there now as well. You can have a look back.
Yeah.
And keep safe on that over the next couple of weeks, and I look forward to seeing you on the field very soon.
Lovely stuff.
Cheers,
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, mate. Bye-bye. Bye.
See you guys.